How did you hear about this play?
I wrote a story in 1999 that inspired the play.
Oh, right, okay. So I'm actually talking to someone, yeah.
I found Frankie Lucas,
Right.
and everyone thought he was dead. But the social care team in Canada asked me not to reveal his identity, and I didn't. And luckily, people picked up on it, and they found him. Some people knew he was alive. Most people thought he was dead. So that's my involvement with this play.
And do you think that this play, as well as the movie, really shows the real Frankie Lucas?
That's the Frankie I remember. I got his autograph one day at a place called Manor Place Barbs at South East London Divisional Championships. To sign my autograph. I was 12, and then as a fighter, I saw a few of his pro fights, and he's the greatest fighter that you've never heard of. It's that simple.
Right.
Without a doubt, it's the greatest fight you've never heard of. And I think the play did that justice. And movie will play even more justice. The movie would place it contextually, it would give us the whole 70s into the 80s situation. So that would be great. The play was unbelievable, very moving. Play was unbelievable, very moving. The movie would be even better.
And do you think it brings out the real Frankie Lucas in there, all the different aspects of his character and his spirit?
Up to Frankie there. Frankie that was fearless, just wanted to win, didn't believe he could ever lose. A Frankie who had a partner and a baby, and a Frankie who was too busy to travel for a short farm to fly in to see them. You know, sometimes you got to paint things as they are. And that was, you know, there was parts of that play that were brutal on Frankie and parts of that play that were beautiful on Frankie. And that's how, you know, that's how it is. That's how people are in life, to be honest with you.
Why do you think people should see this play? And this boxing story is more unique than others.
Frankie Lucas, if he'd have been handled differently, could have been a great fighter. Frankie Lucas was around now in 2023. And he did in 2023 what he did in 1972, what he did in 1973, and what he did in 1973. If he had to write his check, turning professional, he'd end up with £1 million as a signing on bonus. He'd had the easiest run, period. Forget the fact that he wasn't very media trained. Fighters weren't media trained in the 70s. In 2023, with the same credentials and a bit of media training, he'd make an absolute fortune. That's why people should see it. They should see what a great talent there once was in crewing boxing under Sir Philip James. Because he is the greatest fighter that we've never heard.
You believe there's a lot of injustice against him that stopped him from reaching, you know, the position that he could have got to?
The injustice is highlighted in the play. There's certain situations, things that happen. But that's just the way the boxing business works. There's dozens of fighters. Bunny Sterling, great fighter. Bunny Johnson, great fighter. Clinton McKenzie, great fighter. All won British titles, European title, Commonwealth titles. Did not get a chance to fight for the world title. That's the way it works. There's lots of white fighters that never got a chance. Kevin Finnegan, who had 3 wars with Alan Minter, was a great fighter. Beat Frankie Lucas. He never got a chance to fight for a world title. That's the way the business worked back then. It was a very different business in the 70s and the 80s. Sure, there were injustices. Sure, people never got what they deserved. Sure, people never got to win fights or get the chance to win fights and make money. That's just the way the boxing business worked back then. Frankie wasn't chosen, wasn't picked out, wasn't isolated. It's just that in the Frankie's case, when you put all the aspects together, that's what makes it such a great story.
Right. Is there anything else you want to say about Frankie and his play that will be covered?
So it's the people that have put this play together, they've done an incredible job. I watched a lot of that play through my ears, and it was brilliant listening to some of it.
What do you think people are going to get out of this and Frankie Lucas' story there?
Let's hope the history that we know now gets told and more people get to see it. I'm just very upset with lots of people in the boxing community who seem to have turned a blind eye to it.
Right.
For instance, there should have been 50 members of the British boxing media here tonight. There was. There should have been. So it's good if they get a film and a play and then raise the profile. Who knows? And his name will be cemented.
Let's say that these people do eventually get round to seeing this play. or have seen this film, or like the extended version of the film, what good do you think this is that will do for the world of boxing and all these underweighted?
It won't do a thing for the world of boxing, but it'll do an awful lot for Frankie Lucas, surviving family members, and just the whole South London boxing scene. It will just raise the profile of Frankie and what he achieved.